with another makeup routine and topic. The topic for this week is all about your circle. And having the right people in your circle can make or break you. And so I just wanted to talk about my particular circle and what these different circles look like. So you may have professional circles, you may have family circles, you have your friend circle, that kind of thing. So we're going to go over all of those as we do a simple makeup routine today. So it is about 12 o'clock on Wednesday, April the 29th. And so we don't have anywhere to go today. We've got some work to do, but I wanted to look cute anyways. Tonight, we actually do have our PBR down at the E.L.F. So just trying to put on some makeup, look a little cute for that. I already got my clothes on. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. I've already done my face routine with the Fenty Beauty Fat Water, as well as what did I use? Fat water, and I used the E.L.F. Thirst Burst drops. And then this right here is just, actually this is the Thirst Burst drops. The other one's some serum I got, but it's in my bathroom. So anyways, I always like to put this on as well. I haven't put my moisturizer on just yet, so we'll put that on here in a minute. And today we're going to use our Yummy Skin Tint because I don't want like a whole lot going on. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, so let's talk about circles. You have a professional circle, and this could be your professional network, the people that you may go to for advice about your career, or people that you may go to see if they have job openings or what's their position look like at their company, those kind of things. Those are your professional circles, your professional networks. Sometimes these are large. They may not just necessarily everybody that's on your LinkedIn, but those certain people that you can go to and ask specific questions to, and you genuinely appreciate and value what their opinion is. Okay, so they're your thought leader as far as profession goes. All right, so that's your professional circle. And then you have your family circle. And so y'all, we don't get to choose our family for the most part. It's whoever, especially your biological family. It's just who you're actually with. Okay, the Lord birthed you to those people. That's your family. Those are your cousins, that's your aunts, all that kind of stuff. Your ones by in-laws, of course, those can be chosen, but you're not the one choosing them because you're not the one that's marrying them or whatever. So anyways, you've got your family, and then you've got friends that then you have friends who are more like family. Okay, so we've got all of that going on. From your family circle, you're always going to have, and you know what, I'm not going to say you're always going to have, we're going to talk from my own particular personal story. So when it comes to family circles, I have several different dynamics. My grandparents on my father's side were entrepreneurs, okay? So it's no shock to me that I'm also an entrepreneur. My mom's side, my grandfather, he was an entrepreneur. He built houses, okay? And so I've got it kind of like on both sides. But then you have to think about when it comes to family circles, if I wanted to go to somebody to ask for business advice, is there anybody in the family circle to do that? And for me, no, not really. However, my family circle is where I get my support from. That's where I get my confidence from. People ask me, Renata, how are you so confident? I grew up with my father and my mother, and my father has always done things to make sure that I had a high level of self-confidence. Okay. And so I've never had any issues with being self-confident. Like it was just never a thing for me. So anyways, that's one thing. And then you have your friends. You get to choose your friends. And sometimes these people come and you meet them, and you may meet them randomly. You may meet them through a work job, and then they ended up being your friends. Okay. You may meet them through another friend, so it just depends. And so whenever that occurs, you get to choose those people. When you go to work, and I'll use my friend Terica as an example, we met at this long-term care place, and I could have very well not had any interactions with her, and likewise, she could have done the same for me. But whatever the case may be, we clicked, we became really long-time friends, and then I met Keisha through her. And so that's kind of how that circle grew. And then Jovial, I met through pharmacy school. And through Jovial, I met Wendy. And then Christina, I met through Hair Walk, which was done by Lisa that used to do my hair. Okay, and so even the person that does your hair, when I went to her originally, I wasn't setting out for her to be my friend. But she ended up actually being my friend, my trainer, personal trainer. Back in the day, Tiffany, I wasn't setting out when I started with a trainer for her to be my friend, but we ended up being friends. My trainer now didn't set out for us to be friends, but guess what? We're friends, okay? So you get to choose your friends, and friends aren't always the same friends. Like the friends I had in high school are not necessarily the same friends I have now. I still talk to one on the regular, Naisha. And we used to be four of us deep, and me and her still talk. Okay, so it just depends on how you meet these people, where you meet these people, and some of them are just there for a season. Now, y'all, I just put on that, as Terica told me last night, it's called 10 for 10. Yummy Skin Barrier Boost. And so I just put that on. I'm going to let that sit for a while. I'm going to wet my sponges, and then I'll be back. I need my water. And then we have people you may meet at church. They may also become your friends. And I also want to talk about friends versus circle. So I have a lot of folks that I consider a friend, but they're not necessarily in my inner circle. So that's another thing. Sometimes people want to use the word friend too loosely. And this is the Yummy Skin Glow Serum. Y'all already know I'm going to keep using this product. So sometimes people use the word friend too loosely. And so when that friend does something, then you're all hurt. And that's because you put them in an elevated category that they were never meant to be in. So your disappointment level for them is abnormal. I'm going to use the word, because technically that person shouldn't have been in a position to disappoint you to where you were actually that hurt about it. Okay. And by that, I mean, let's say you have somebody that you call a friend and you find out they're talking about you behind your back, and now you're so distraught and so hurt. Well, if this is somebody that you met at church and y'all only see each other on Sundays, and y'all may exchange a couple of, conversations during the week or whatever, but nothing serious, and then you find out that person was talking about you behind your back, shouldn't really be distraught. You haven't built a full-fledged relationship with that person. There's no trust there for the most part, unless that's just a trustworthy person. So you shouldn't be so upset that this person has betrayed you because you've put them in a status or a friend level status that they should have never been in to start with. So I'm going to talk about my friend circle today. And the reason that I picked this topic is because we actually have not a heated debate, but we do have debates. And so we're just talking about some politics stuff and election stuff. And so that's what we were talking about this morning, me, Tarek, and Keisha in group chat. And so the thing that I love about my group and my friend circle is we never get offended at one another to where we don't speak to one another. We may be offended, we may be upset, we may be disagreeing with one another, but we will never ever allow that to do anything to our friendship, okay? And that's the part that I really like. You can't have that with anybody. If you can't have a heated debate with your friends on sensitive topics and still not be friends, then you could choose one or two things. You can choose not to have those conversations with that friend group, or you may want to reevaluate that circle, because I believe that your inner circle should be people that allow you to express who you are without having to apologize for it. But me on the same side, I've got to be willing to receive what they put in. Like, I'm not in the news a lot, meaning reading a lot of stuff. They know a whole lot more about politics and how people voted and all that kind of stuff, the history part of it, than I do, okay? So when I'm going into these conversations, they already know Bernarda's coming from a surface level, but I already know that they're coming from a much deeper level. And so we're both talking and hashing it out and seeing where the other person is coming from. So it's a lot of IMOs and my opinions in that conversation. But at the end of the day, guess what? We're going to go right back to cutting up, or right back to having a good time. Also, with having a good support circle, is you want to make sure that those people, especially from an entrepreneur standpoint, that they understand your schedule. They understand that sometimes you're not going to be available. Sometimes you may be slow to respond in the chats. And that's important, because a lot of times you may not be able to, respond and go to events and do things because you have so much going on. This is my Yummy Skin Serum Tint. We're going to use this today. I'm in the shade 12. And so I think this is dried down enough. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the other thing is you want to make sure that your friend circle is also understanding of your schedule and what you have going on. And so like for my friends, we know who's always down to go somewhere. We know who may say they're coming but probably won't show up. Or we have people that we already know when they ask them, is like, I ain't coming. Okay. So you already know that about your friends. You don't use that against them. That doesn't make you treat them any kind of way. You just already know who they are and you accept them for that. Okay. And with me being a very busy individual, especially sometimes when I have several projects going on, I don't have to worry about my friends saying, "Oh my God, Renata hadn't called me in 6 days." We don't have those conversations. I don't even know when's the last time I talked to Jovial by phone. I don't know. But when we do talk, guess what? We'll pick right up right where we left off. Now, my cousin Mahogany, I consider her family because she is, but I also consider her a really good friend. And so I talked to her yesterday by phone. She was in New York this past weekend, and we usually go to New York together. However, I was in DC, so I didn't get to go. But my thing is, when we started talking, we didn't miss a beat. She didn't say, "Oh my God, Renata, we ain't talking in so long. Why you don't pick up the phone? Why you don't call me?" None of that, because we understand that we're busy individuals, okay? And we respect that about one another. So when you're out here trying to pick your circle, and figure out what friends to go in certain circles. Those are things that you need to keep in mind. And then you have friends that are built for different things. Okay. We have this trip coming up where it's a wellness trip and it's all about relaxation, the spa, meditation, that kind of stuff. I already know Jovial is not the one to go on that trip. Okay. She's not into those things. And so you have to know your friends and what they would like. Now, Mahogany's birthday is in a couple of weeks, and we're doing several different VIP sections at like some restaurants, and then we're going to go to a party. Absolutely, Jovial's going to that one. That's my roadie when it's time to go to stuff like that. So you have to know your circle and what they actually like to do. Now, for me, I'm a pretty well-rounded person. I'll do anything if it's a good time, within reason. But so with that being said, I do have, I'm able to go out with any of my friends and we'll find something to do. Even with my sister. So my sister, again, family, but I also consider her in my friend circle. And so me and her are going to Orlando for the SHRM conference. She loves to drive. She wants to have some time off. I know I can go to the conference and leave her at the hotel and she's going to be just fine by herself. She's going to entertain herself. She's going to find her a Goodwill and a thrift shop. So I don't have to sit there and entertain her. So it's those type of things when you're looking at your friends and your circles of what you should be looking at. Now, I really hope there's some young women and even men looking at this video because my boyfriend, he told me once before, he says, you and your friends have such a great relationship. He said the way y'all talk, y'all hang out, because we try to get together at least once a month or once every other month. And he said, a lot of dudes don't do that. And I don't know how true that is. I know he doesn't, but I do see men on my timeline doing male trips and things of that nature. I know my cousin Barry and them, they talk all the time on the telephone, more than women. My friend Norman, he talks on the phone all the time with his homeboys. So I think it's person specific. That's really what I think it is. But anyways, I just hope that if you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I don't know who I should have in my friend circle, that kind of thing. I can knock on wood and say I've never had anybody in my friend circle betray me. It just not happened. It just hasn't happened. And I haven't betrayed anybody in my friend circle. It's just never happened. It's unheard of. We wouldn't think to do such a thing, and until you get people like that in your corner, it could be a lonely road, especially being an entrepreneur, because you're already lonely because there's nobody out here that understands and speaks your language. And then at least you try to go to your friends, to get some kind of relief, comfort, joy, happiness, fun. And then you got to worry about them betraying you. Okay. So, just keep that in mind. And also, not necessarily the friends, I keep talking about your friend circle, but let's talk about the type of friend that you yourself should be. That is that Mac Fix It, Prep, and Prime. So I'm using that. And while I do that, remember y'all, the secret, I think, to good concealer, well, not just me, but everybody, a lot of people says it is to let it sit. But I'm impatient, as a lot of people probably are. And so I decide to curl my hair while it's setting. And so, you know, let's talk about how you yourself should be a good friend, because let's not fool ourselves that everybody knows how to be a good friend. And another thing is, the friend you are to one, you may not be the same type friend to somebody else. And what I mean by that is, everybody is different. I can't talk to all my friends the same way. Okay. And it's just because each one of them have different personality types. We all have different personality types. So it's not that you're changing up. It's just that you know that you may not be able to be as upfront and direct with one friend that you can do with the other, because they're just going to shut down on you. They're not going to hear anything that you have to say, and you're not helping that person. And so if you have something helpful to help your friend, but you can't get it through to them because you don't know how to communicate with them, then that's not doing them any good. Okay. So that's another reason why it's important for you yourself to know your own personality type. And then how you should communicate clearly and effectively with your friends, your family, your coworkers, etc. And maybe that's what we'll do, is a personality test. We did those when we flipped houses, and I am a dolphin. And this past weekend in DC, Lisa did a really great job on presenting the personalities, and she did them as the seasons of the year. So maybe we'll do that on another one of these get ready with me makeup tutorial type things. So anyways, you as the friend. So what else should you do? I think you yourself should set boundaries. Your friends should know what you like and what you don't like. My friends know that I am not one to talk on the phone. I just don't like it. Now, I got two friends that I'll talk on the phone with more than anybody else. So Jovial and Terica, I'll talk on the phone with them more than anybody else. Everybody else, I can probably count on one hand how many times I actually physically talk to them on the phone throughout the whole entire year. I'm just not a big phone person. Also, certain friends, you may have different things to talk about. So, and unfortunately, we've come to a point where you don't necessarily have to use the phone. And I love text messaging. And so I can text, even do voice notes or whatever, and get my point across and get and hear what they've got to say just as well as if I was actually on the phone with them. And I love group chats. Okay, so we have group chats so everybody can weigh in and you ain't having to repeat things, etc. So just be a good friend. And my thing is, be supportive. Tell your friends when they're doing good. Tell your friends when they're not doing good. Help them find a solution. Help them, figure out what the problem is. Don't just be there listening all the time and not offering solutions when needed. Sometimes you're going to be there and you're going to just need to listen. That's it. There's no solution in place. The person just needs somebody to listen to them. And that's a lot of people, y'all. A lot of people right now just need somebody to actually listen to them. They're not looking for any help, because sometimes there is no help. There's no help other than what Lord can provide and get them out of that situation. They just need to vent. So be that listening ear. Don't cut people off when they're talking. You may say, a quick, okay, yeah, some facial expressions, that kind of thing, but let the person talk, let the person vent. But then when it's time to actually move into action, and then in those situations, don't just let your friend continue to do, bad things and things that are not of them. Great example. This past weekend in DC, Lisa, the lady that used to do my hair, who's also my friend, we used to, back in the day when I was in really good shape, and she was into fitness too, she still is, she made a comment, because we were all sitting at the bar, and some of these folks I know and some of them I don't, that's on the team. And she made the comment, she said, as I was probably on my second or third lemon drop martini, and I had some fried calamari, and she said, the Renata back in the day would never eat and drink all of this stuff. And it hit me. I was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. Like the Renata back in the day, I used to take my snacks to the shop. I remember going to a Super Bowl party one time and taking my almonds and my popcorn, my own little snack, so that I wasn't going to be tempted or subject to eat what they had there, because I knew it wasn't going to be anything that I could eat. And I remember those days. I was in good shape. I looked great. I liked the way it felt. I liked the compliments I got. And I was like, you know what? This lemon drop and this calamari, it really is beneath me. Like, I am better than this. I'm Renata Jones. And I'm sitting out here wasting my shape, wasting my darn training sessions with some dag blasted calamari. And hold y'all. Okay, so we are back for round two. Yeah, so while I was on the phone with her, I went ahead and started cooking me something to eat. We're going to redo the hibachi I had last night. So I got hibachi rice. So I had some leftover ground beef and pork sausage that I used to make spaghetti the other night. So I'm just putting that all together and just make me like a hibachi rice with protein and stuff in it. But anyways, I do not know where I left off. I think we were talking about the type of friend that you yourself should be. And I think that's what we were going into. So anyways, hopefully you all picked up something along those lines of, how to be a good friend. And y'all, once you've lost somebody's loyalty and trust, it's hard to get it back. I would actually venture to say it's darn near impossible, because that person's always going to be thinking in the back of their head. They're still going to always be a little bit, more unlikely or cautious around you, even if they've forgiven you, even if they say they've moved on. And that's just common sense. If somebody betrayed you once before, it's possible they'll do it again. So you're just going to be a little bit more reserved in what you say around that person. So keep your word. Be who you are. Be authentic, because, those things can come back to haunt you later. And one of my things is I try to be the same no matter what I'm doing and where I'm going. I don't have time to try and remember who I was last week, who I was at this professional conference, who I was at church. I'm just trying to be the same person everywhere. Now, last video, if y'all didn't watch, I talked about how I like to contour out my nose. I'm getting better with it. And I use this brush, and I use the LYS stick, bronzing stick, and it was in No Limits Honest. And then we use this brush to blend out the bronzer. They still wet. I thought I may have to go back and re-wet my sponges. There we go. All right. So we're just going to add in a little bit of color here. Let's see what we got. I think it looks good. And remember, we used the tint today. We didn't use full foundation. We used the tint. And so then, it's this one. We're going to use our cleaner brush, beauty blender, and get rid of those lines of demarcation. Okay. Now, another thing that I started saying that I picked up from one of these conferences, I think it's one of the 10X conferences, is, everybody can't go where you're going. And I must have said this one time too many one day, and I remember Terica saying, well, where are you going, Renata? And so here's what I mean by that. When you're starting new ventures and you're doing new things, sometimes the people that you were around are still used to you still being able to go and do those things, which is fine. But if they can't adjust to you now having to say no, that you can't do those things because you have a business, you have a new project, you have a new job, you have a new man, you have a new woman, that kind of thing. If they can't adjust to that, then maybe you need to put those people to the side. Not that you're not going to ever talk to them again. You're just not dealing with them in the same capacity that you used to deal with them before. And then if you know that you're trying to go to a higher level, but these people are always talking about poverty mindset, they're comfortable where they are, that kind of thing, but you want to go to the next level. What I mean is everybody can't go with you. Don't worry about trying to pull those people and elevate those people up with you that don't have that mindset. You go on your own. Okay, leave them here and you go on your own. Another thing I love about my friend circle, they'll say, well, we got one friend that was like, well, when are you going to marry a multimillionaire so we can all go on these boat trips and stuff? And then for me, it's like, when is one of these deals going to pop off, or you going to win the lottery? Because they know I play the lottery all the time. And we actually get to take all these trips, so they're supportive. They want to go where I'm going. That my friends work. My friends work good jobs, and when I go out and we all go out together, it's nothing for one person to pick up the check, or somebody else picks up the check, because we're not broke, and we know that if I picked up the check today, especially when me and Jovial or me and Terica together, if I picked up the check today, and we don't even count, like who picked it up last, the next time we go out, somebody else picks up the check, So you have to know your friends and know their limits and that kind of stuff, and who is actually going to be with you when you have nothing, who's going to be with you when you got something. And that's important, because if you take the wrong friends with you when you got something, you'll end up not having nothing, because those people will be careless. Like, take this for example. You know how people, and I'm going to be very cautious when I say this, you know how when people get some money, and I can't remember the football player that killed that lady in that drunk driving accident out in Las Vegas. So when things like that happen, you wonder, you're like, where were the people in their circle? Like, who let them drive? But then I started thinking about myself, and because we'll talk more about this, me and my troubles with alcohol. But then I think about that. I said, there's a lot of times that my friends probably wanted to, but because of the state that you're in, sometimes it's the drunk person doesn't make it easy. But again, the thing about it is you've got to know your friends. And so if you've got people that let you do reckless things when you don't have anything, and they let you get away with it, they never check you on it, then that's exactly what's going to happen when you have these things and you start rising to the top. They're not going to make you less reckless or call you out on your less recklessness then. Okay, so that's important. And so I look at those things. Those are the people that can't go with you when you get to a certain level. If you have friends that's always talking, and they're gossiping. So when you get to a certain level, let's say you're in rooms with some celebrities and you want to be able to take your friends with you, and you've got that one friend that's always gossiping, always talking, can't hold water, then maybe that's not the friend you want to take on certain celebrity events that are supposed to be exclusive, because those folks don't want their business out on the street. And so those are the things that I'm saying. Everybody can't go where you go. Oh, so this is the finishing powder from Ulta Beauty. Same thing I used last week. And then this was the Danessa Myricks number shade 2 powder, setting powder. I did not use this last week. I think we used the Huda Beauty instead. So that's what that looks like. I love the way you apply it. It's like a little foamy trampoline, little spongy thing in there. So I do like that. And I'll try not to incorporate too many new products each time so that we can build upon this thing. Because we're just 2 weeks in, and I'm a creature of habit. So when I find something I like, I usually stick to it. All right, so we've got that part done. So we've done our skincare. After the skincare, we did the 10 over 10 or 10 for 10 barrier thing from Danessa Myricks. We did the glow serum, and then we used our skin tint from Danessa, and then we did the bronzer, and we concealed. We did concealer first, then we did the bronzer, and then we used the powder on the areas that we concealed, and then another powder for the rest of it. And now what we're getting ready to do is our blush, and y'all already know we're going to use our liquid kilowatt from Fenty Beauty. And last week we used one of the lip bar ones, so today I think we're going to use Rare Beauty. Let's try this one out. It's a real light one, but we'll try it out. We'll try it out. It's a little light, but we'll try it. It's the Rare Beauty, and it's in the color Virtue. Now, remember last week I told you the Fenty Beauty, the Liquid Kilowatt, you're going to have to apply it and spread it, because you don't want this stuff drying. My E.L.F. brush, blech, my E.L.F. blush brush. Yeah, that didn't have a lot of color to it, which I figured it wouldn't. See, that looks more highlighty with not a lot. It looks more highlight, but no color. See? And so it looks like a lot of highlighter with no color. So we're going to try something today. Something new. Because I ain't never had this happen before. Yeah. And remember, Beauty Blender to get rid of those harsh lines. See how this one right here, you can see where the blush is versus where the concealer part is. So we're just going to go around the outskirts of that and do the same thing on this side. And same thing here. Like that. I kind of like my cheeks a little bit more rosy. So here's what I'm going to try. And I don't know if this is a good idea or not. But we're going to try it. Well, actually, you know what? Maybe we'll use one of Fenty's cream blushes. Let's go with this Big Melon. Go try that. Because I just need a little bit more color than what I got. And I'm going to apply this with my fingers. Yeah, there we go. And it's almost like the color that we just had. Yeah, there we go. I just needed a little bit more color. I like to see my blush. And I do like it a little high. Thought I wouldn't. I thought I would just wanted it on the cheeks. But when I started seeing people going up higher, I was like, you know, I kind of like that when I do it. Okay. All right. So that's that. We, you know what we missed? We got to put the NYX Brow Lift glue on. Let's make sure we have nothing on the brows. And then we're going to put this on and let it dry. And then we're going to do the eyebrows, or attempt to anyways. Okay, so we'll let that dry. And I think I will use some mascara, because maybe one of these nights, maybe tonight, I'll show you how I take this stuff off. Last night I used my Clinique eye makeup remover, and I didn't have any residual left over. So that was a winner. As I told y'all, this really is trial and error. I thought my friends was lying, but they ain't. And when you done woke up and you still got mascara on your eye, and it's irritating, and you're like, how in the hell am I going to get this mascara off my eye? Actually, Sean brought me that Clinique makeup remover, and it was in a kit, along with the moisturizer stuff that I just used. So, and I like trial size stuff. You know, me and Terica was talking about that last night with the perfumes. I got Jackie Ina's Forever Mood. They had like 7 or 8 shades in there. And I got the Joe Malone, and so I can able to try which ones, you know, that I like and what I don't like. And then you can go back and buy the bigger bottles. So sometimes these little travel kits come in handy, because you find out what you like and what you don't like, and you ain't had to spend a whole lot of money. So we'll see. And y'all, please put in the comments any topics that you want me to talk about, because I have some written down and listed, and so I went through them today, and I was like, okay, this is timely conversation to talk about friend circles with the conversation that we had just had on the in group chat. So that's what I did with it. Hold that thought 1 second. All right, so now that part is done. So now what we got to do is our eyebrows, and we'll use the Refi pencil again. Again, I don't want to introduce too many new things each week. So today's new thing we did was we used the Danessa Myrick skin tint as well as her setting powder. And then we used the Rare Beauty blush, which we had to augment with our cream blush from Fenty. So everything else we will stick to the same. And so y'all, just be mindful of your circles. You know, people that have big circles, talking about they got 15, 20 people in their circle, impossible. You got 15 or 20 friends, acquaintances, but that's not your inner circle. Even think about Jesus. Jesus only had 12 disciples. And one of them ended up being a traitor. And so, and if you really think about it, his inner circle, it was only like 3 or 4 of them. So, you know, just be mindful of those things. It's really hard to find. I ain't gonna say really hard, but it's hard to find true people, loyal people, good people, anyways, to build a relationship with. And it's gonna be darn near impossible for you to have 10 or 12 in your circle that you can actually trust with everything. And what I like about my friends too is, we kind of operate the same way. There's certain things some of us know about others that others may not, because it's not relevant, like, for one party to know what the other about it. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a group, good example would be Sisters, the movie show with Tyler Perry. You know how Sabrina and Danny would have certain conversations that they didn't necessarily have with Andy and Karen. That's so real. That's all the time. And it's not because you're trying to keep something from the other party. It's just that it's just not relevant for that other friend or whatever, you know. So anyways, that's that. So the takeaways from this is be a good friend. You know, be the friend that you want your people to be. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of, you know, you attract things that, you know, that you're like, which means if you out here and you giving respect, then you should expect respect back. But if you're out here being disrespectful and you wondering why people don't respect you and they're not being, you know, genuine with you, then maybe you need to check yourself. Is how I kind of see it. All right, so the eyebrows are done. This looks really cute. We're going to put just a tad bit of the stuff in my inner corners of my eye. Not a lot, because I kind of feel like... actually, I'm not, because it looks like the glow from this part here is already in my... It's like it's reflecting up, and I don't want to overdo it, so I'm going to leave that as is. So let's spray. You already know we ain't going to use Danessa to start us out and not use Danessa to close us out. Come on now. So we'll put on our Danessa. Woo! And then we're going to use our... And I clean up as I go, y'all. I don't have all my makeup stuff still sitting out here. When I'm finished, all my stuff is already put up. I don't play them games. So, just like I don't try not to go to bed with dishes in the sink, I don't get up from my makeup vanity without my stuff already back in place, because it's annoying when you come back to do makeup tomorrow and you got stuff everywhere, and that's a good way for you to lose your stuff too. Okay, so the only thing we got left to do is our lips, so let's find our Morphe pencil, because again we're keeping it the same. I don't know why I'm finna line my lips. Oh, I ain't got no choice, because I want y'all to see the finished look. And last week I didn't take an after picture. I thought sure I did, and I didn't. You know what? I meant to take a before picture today so I could have the before on one side and the after on the other side. We're gonna get better. That's just all I got to say. We're gonna get better. Look how good that sharpened. Yeah. I was about to say I hate that I lining my lips because I'm finna eat. We'll be fine. All right. And so that was the Morphe pencil, and that is in the shade Brulee. I was about to say Signature, but that's the name of the collection. And then the Patrick Ta Cookie Butter Lip Gloss in the middle. And just like that, y'all, our face is done. I think it looks pretty consistent with last week. And this is the Yummy Skin tint. And so it's not like you can see some of my blemishes down here, whereas you might not have saw those last week with the foundation, but it still looks like skin. It's giving skin. That's kind of what I like about it. So yeah, and it does feel heavy. It's because I need this to last until tonight. Matter of fact, because I do need it to last till tonight, I'm going to go over this with some L'Oreal Infallible. This stuff ain't no joke. You want your makeup to last all day? Use the L'Oreal Infallible. Enough said. All right, y'all. That is the end of the video. I hope y'all are enjoying this series. Please stay tuned for the next one because I am going to be consistent. And let me show y'all. I'm telling you. See, my workstation is fairly clean. All right, so thank y'all so much for joining another makeup and get ready with me along with a message. So remember, be the friend that you want to be and check your circle. Make sure you're building the right circle. And if you're young and you're like, you know what, Miss Renata, I don't know what my circle should look like, keep living, darling. You will find out by trial and error. I love y'all so much and see you next time.